Okay, I'm so sorry for the interruption. I think we are good to go now. This Nigeria network. So, so sorry for that. That was a network glitch. So, I think we are good to go now. The functions of philosophy. Like we've learned that philosophy is like the wheels upon which primary education runs or moves. So, what are the functions philosophy plays in primary education? The functions of philosophy are the uses of the subject to us as individuals and as members of the society. Some contemporary thinkers called the analytic philosophers see philosophy as a study that essentially simplifies and analyzes issues and statements pertaining to the subjects, sorry, to other subjects in order to enable us understand them better. That is just a form of introduction to this part. Now we'll go to the main functions of philosophy that exist. What are the functions that philosophy plays in the education process of primary school pupils in primary education primarily? Now, we say that the first one is analytical function. The first function that philosophy plays is analytical function. Excuse me. Are we still there? Can you still hear my voice, please, before we dive into something serious? So, analytical function is our first concern of. All right, so I think we are good to go then. Analytical function is our first concern on the functions of philosophy. And what does this mean? Well, let's read through it first before we explain. What does analytical function mean? This has to do with the analysis and clarification of ideas, issues, and statements to enable us understand the subject matters of other disciplines. This analytical function is considered to be the primary function of philosophy. If you are able to recall in one of your courses that we were talking about philosophy recently, we were trying to talk about how to philosophize on subject matters. You will notice that philosophy tends to be analytical in their approach, the way they think about matters, looking at nature, natural phenomena, and bringing out deep thoughts from them, like studying happiness, joy, anger, pride, all such things, to bring out deep revelations about those uh, concepts. Now, when that kind of analytical, okay, let me just, I think, let me be somehow formal in my explanation. It's when we say that philosophy plays an analytical function in the curriculum of primary school pupil or education rather. What we are trying to say is that philosophy carefully examines and it breaks down ideas or statements so that they become easier to understand. That is the work of philosophy. It breaks down ideas through careful examination. If you notice, if you are philosophizing, if you are looking at the rising of the sun now, and you are just looking at it deeply, then you are trying to come up with why is the sun rising? Where is it rising from? Why is the heat like this? Why does it change this? Now, when you start looking at in-depth possibilities, like what you learned yesterday about problem solving method of teaching science. That is close to philosophy. So when we say philosophy plays an analytical function, it means that it breaks down hard concepts. It explains ideas or statements in a very careful way. It examines them, then it breaks them down. So what we are now trying to say is that philosophy will not just accept ideas the way they are, it will question those ideas. And you know that that is the best way learning can take place. When you don't just tell a child that hot water is hot, and the child can't question you, why was it hot? Why do we have cold water? What makes it hot? When they can't question you like that, it means that something is wrong. So philosophy has gone ahead to question each of those concepts that you may think you would teach in other subjects. It questions them, and through those questioning comes up with standards of simpler explanation to each of those concepts. So philosophy is just like a father now that has deep knowledge about happenings, events around the world, then calls the children, that is other subjects, other disciplines, other field, calls the children together, maybe doing a moon time story, and begins to tell them in a simpler way through analogy, simplifications, different concepts in life. So the philosophy now serves as a knowledge father, or a knowledgeable father, full of knowledge, giving the children. So that knowledge now helps the father to simplify hard concepts that the children will meet or will come up with as questions to him. That is all. So philosophy will not just say that, will not just accept that this water is hot. It's going to ask that, what exactly does this mean? There are questions philosophy will ask when you come up with any concept. It's going to ask you that, what does this thing mean? Is this statement clear? Philosophy will ask that, is there anything hidden in the meaning of this thing? So if you say anger, philosophy want to know what is the full meaning of anger. They will break anger down to the simplest form that can exist, that there will be nothing else to explain. That is the work of philosophy. So philosophy will also ask questions like, does this idea make sense? So it analyzes the idea step by step until it becomes clear. So if, for instance, let's take an example. I'm sorry, I'll be more of explaining these days than just reading material. I just want to adopt that method, even though that I know that the nature of the exam is the one that wants you to cram. But I don't believe you are just coming to this school because you want to pass the exam. You are trying to get concept on how you can be more productive in your teaching career. So that is why I would like to always go deep on anything we're talking from this week. I think I started since last week. So we are still on analytical function. I want to give a very simple uh, uh, example now. Now, what this example will do is it's going to help you to understand the role that philosophy plays as I'm sorry, in terms of analysis. In terms of analysis. So, assuming someone says, let me say, which example can I use? Okay, assuming someone just say education is the key to success. If somebody just say that education is the key to success, that makes sense. That looks reasonable. Most people will just simply agree with the statement when you say it. When somebody say education is the key to success, but philosophy or a philosopher will not stop there, will not believe you, will not just easily accept the fact that you said that education is the key to success. He will do something more. A philosopher wants to know what is education. You start getting the idea now when we say that philosophy plays an analytical function. A philosopher wants to know what is education. A philosopher will also ask you, when you say education is the key to success, he's going to ask you what kind of success are you talking about, because in the world, philosophy can tell you that we have 1,000,001 successes: academic success, career success, financial success, material success, behavioral success, and so on and so forth. So a philosopher will question that your statement. You have made the statement that education is what is the key to success, but a philosopher wants to know more. What is education? What is success? What kind of success are you talking about? Does education guarantee success for everyone? He will now ask you, what of people that do not go to school and they are very successful financially and even popular, they have fame? Philosophy will ask you that question. You say something the child will never accept. You deep down to the root until you have nothing more to say. Or we have a child that always asks you questions that when the child asks you question in the house, everybody in the house will just keep quiet, because you always ask questions that you'll be imagining, where did this boy get his phone from? That child only has something. He has an analytical mind, and that analytical mind about is a mind of a philosopher, like that. So a philosopher will not accept that you just say something and you just believe that it is like that. You want to question everything questionable on that thing. In fact, on that same statement, eh, philosophy will go further by asking, can someone succeed without formal education? That if you say that education is the key to success, and the person has asked you now, does education guarantee success for everybody? He will still ask you that, does that mean that people that do not go to school, that are not educated, that don't have formal education, does it mean that they will not succeed? So that is what we're trying to say on that. So let me give you one last example on analytical function. If you enter your class now and probably you say children learn best through play. Children learn best through play. A child that has a a philosophical mind, or a philosopher that is around you, when you say that, we ask you the following questions: what is meant by play? What do you mean by play in that your statement? You may even say, why do children learn better through play? That means come and prove your point. You may say, does this apply to every child? You know, we have children that learn anesthetically, we have those that learn through this method, we have those. So if you say that, is that your claim applicable to all child, or to all children rather? Then a philosopher will ask you, please give us evidence to support your statement. That is the meaning of analytics. They make sure they break down concept down until there is nothing else to break down. And you see that that kind of thing is very needed in primary education, because you are teaching people who don't know anything. Their brain, if you want to go with the concept of tabula rasa, we say that their brain is empty, nothing is there. So if you want to really teach them something, you don't need to be teaching them using words that still have more meaning. You have to break it down to the simplest form. That is why philosophy is very important in primary education, and part of the function it play, and the most important one it play, is the analytical function, the process of breaking down the ideas, the statement, the concept, the subject, the topic that you want to teach those children to the simplest form that is possible. Now, the second one is speculative and normative function. Speculative and normative function. Let's read through first before we take any SP. You would have learned by now that if somebody could be that serious in questioning you, then the person's mind must be sound. The person's mind is working hard. So the mind is one gift to man, which enables him to think about himself, the people around him, and the world in general. So with it, he can speculate about things he is not sure of. You know what speculation means? So he can imagine things that are possible and even those that are not possible. It is not so it is to be noted, however, that when we think about things or speculate on issues, it is done within the context of our social and cultural environment. When you see what they're trying to say there, okay, let me just take a a very simple. I won't waste time on this one. Let me just take a very simple explanation on this, and I think the next one we'll talk about is inspirational function and how does it inspire the learners. How does it inspire the learners? But before then, let me quickly go to speculative and normative function. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? Now, we already see from the beginning of that statement that the mind is an important factor in philosophy. The mind is an important factor. In fact, I want to take an icebreaker there. I like to take an icebreaker there, so you can test yourself on this. So we say that the mind is an important or an essential instrument for philosophy. Now, when we say speculative, there are two things there. Now let us handle that point, that second point. Let's handle it